friends. Welcome to Whoop with Jen. This is a recap of the pod I dropped earlier this week, Oreo Cookie Mom, which was my interview with Cynthia McCluskey, who has been on this autism journey for 20 years. And I just wanted to share a little bit of a snapshot of what we talked about and covered in case you don't have time to listen to the full-blown pod. I know it's a little longer at 54 minutes, but I hope that at some point you will give it a listen. In the meantime, here are some of the things that I learned from her, and was really so pleased that she could spend time with me because we're all really busy parents, and she inspires me all the time. Cynthia was the executive director of the Autism Society of Greater Phoenix, which has been around, I think she said, for 40 years. And she's been on the autism journey with her son, Mark, for 18 years. He was diagnosed at age 2.5. He is now 21 today. So transitioning from childhood to adulthood to adult independence is a huge part of her journey that she shares with us. And she talks a lot about how back in the day, there wasn't a whole lot available in support for parents who had kids diagnosed with autism, and how she so desperately wanted to fix the system, which is no small task at all. She talks about how Mark was very intelligent, and he was considered an early walker talker. He walked at 7 months of age. And if you can imagine never having learned to crawl, that he skipped some developmental milestones. And this is very common with highly intelligent children on the spectrum. He talked at 10 months of age in 2-word combinations. At 14 months of age, he had 9 vaccinations, and right away, within I think 3 days, he was hospitalized and lost his language. Then he got diagnosed with autism. And we don't go into a huge anti-vax, pro-vax debate, but she shares some really interesting information because she's a lady that's gotten out and talked to a lot of parents and kids who've been immunized and those who haven't been immunized and still diagnosed with autism. And she shares with us the evolution of what doctors know and what parents know and what parents have done over the past 2 decades, because there's a huge disparity that she encountered, especially when it comes to research, because researchers have a completely different agenda than the parents do, and they're not aligned at all. Parents want answers now, and researchers want solid research that could take decades. And so there's a huge gap in between what the goals are and the needs. And as you can imagine, we as parents are a little bit hysterical because we want what's best for our kids and we don't have time to wait, especially when the interventions at a young age are so critical and important. She talks about how doctors actually suggested that she should institutionalize her son when he was diagnosed, and that there was nothing they could do for them, and that she should focus on having another baby. Like, seriously, have another baby to replace this one that's supposed to be put into an institution. And that's when she hit her crazy warrior mom moment. And having no answers and no direction and no support really opened her up to give herself permission to go do what she needed to do and to go find out the answers on her own. And how she fought the entire medical system and all the systems that you have to fight. And she felt like she was starting this journey before people really started talking about autism, and did a ton of research on gluten-free, dairy-free, corn-free, soy-free, eating organic, and how at that time she was really judged by the medical community and people kind of threatening that she wasn't feeding her son in a healthy way. I mean, gosh, the guilt and the finger pointing, I can totally relate to that. She was denied that regressive autism existed, and we talk about that. It's a really interesting subject. Doctors denied that it existed, and she just had to persevere by taking photos and documenting her son's actions and behaviors to demonstrate, hey, he was here, and now, he's here. She ended up homeschooling him when Mark was in a public school, I think he was in a preschool, and he actually was losing skill, and she was told when he was 3 that he would never be mainstreamed, and how with the homeschooling they were able to make incredible and amazing progress. She was part of a coalition who ran a bill for autism to change legislation in the state of Arizona related to autism insurance law. They were at the state legislature for 3 months. She did bring her son Mark with her to the bars to meet with all the legislators who hung out after work, and them being exposed to Mark and her speaking and being vulnerable to them, they were able to turn around only 2 votes into a unanimous vote. Her journey covers how he was headbanging. He would throw eggs at her wall. She would have to padlock and chain the refrigerator closed. He left the house at night naked. I mean, this was a lot of work for her, a huge handful, and you would never know it today because he is now a student at Arizona State University, lives on campus. He had won the Flynn Foundation Scholarship, which is a big deal here in Arizona, and now working on to becoming an independent adult. It's absolutely incredible. And we didn't even cover everything. And that's why I would just love for you to hear this snapshot and know that there are opportunities out there. And the Autism Society of Greater Phoenix is an amazing resource. I hope you'll give the whole pot a listen because, yeah, we also say the F word. And sometimes it's just the perfect word. And I'm happy that she's been just as crazy as me because sometimes that's just how you get shit done. So whoop, whoop, friends. It's a long one, Oreo Cookie Mom, but I hope you give it a listen. Just pause when you need to, and then hit play. Thanks for listening.